When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind-A with John Pollock and Wai Ting. Me 18, that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind-A for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind-A for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
John Pollock and Wai Ting live here in Toronto for Raw, where we were not among the 15,619 that WrestleTix said tickets were distributed among.
So they announced 17th something on the broadcast.
Yes, Michael Cole said almost 18,000 at one point.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people here. This was a huge Raw. Huge Raw.
So do you believe the number?
I mean, it's possible. Like, we this isn't the final number from WrestleTix. I mean, the numbers never are completely in sync with one another. I would tend to go more with the WrestleTix number as the closer to the range of where they were. But I'm sure they did an enormous gate for this show, and it's a credit that they, you know, in like this was. Like we were talking about at the beginning, this is the biggest snowfall in Toronto in nearly 100 years. And it certainly did not look like there were people that were skipping out on Raw just because at this ticket price, they would get on goddamn horse sled to come to Raw to make sure they see this show. Yeah.
I wonder if this show took place on, I don't know, like Sunday, if people would have been different. But like, I mean, like many people,
Sunday would have been a disaster if this was on Sunday. Yeah.
Like a lot of us were probably indoors over the weekend. And therefore, I wonder if people were just like, you know, sick of being at home. And yeah, I mean, they sold a lot of tickets even prior to today. So
yeah, like it was, you could navigate the city today. Sunday, you were SOL on Sunday, but like all the schools were closed in the city on Monday. Like works were shut down. Like it was like the city was pretty much on hold throughout Sunday and Monday. But yeah, this was a huge number to compare. The last time they ran the Scotiabank Arena was last February for SmackDown, where they did 11,905. So nearly 4,000 more if we're going based on the WrestleTix numbers. And we start off with the site of the construction of this stadium that didn't exist a month ago, that they have put up in just a couple of weeks for the Royal Rumble on Saturday. And certainly brings about many questions of how they're able to construct in such quick fashion here.
Really fast workers, and probably a lot of them. Yeah, this is a temporary stadium.
Yes. So it looks like this is, the demand for tickets was gigantic for this event. So this will be full on Saturday, but this was our first image that we saw on the broadcast tonight. AJ Styles begins the show, and he says he isn't going anywhere. He wants 2026 to be the year of AJ Styles, just like Cena had last year. He wants to be champion one more time, and Gunther, you are not phenomenal. So CM Punk comes out, and he's known AJ for over 20 years. They've had their good times and bad. And boy, they had some bad times, but they respect each other now. And he asks, what are you doing with Gunther? The stakes are too high. And AJ takes this as an insult, thinking, you don't think I can beat him? Punk says, if you happen to lose, we'll never get to have a match in a WWE ring. And Styles says, I know I can beat Gunther, and I know I can beat you. So what if I face you tonight? And if I get past the Rumble, then I'm the number one contender. And Punk says, screw that. You can just have a title match tonight. AJ's like, oh, hell yeah. And we've got a match for tonight. This sure as hell was a better route than the Royal Rumble for AJ.
I mean, yeah, really. Well, Punk is a fighting champion, so he's the type that if you say you want a title shot, he'd be under pressure to.
Why is Finn so concerned about winning this Rumble? I mean, you could probably twist this guy's arm.
Yeah, if he asked a second time, I'm sure he would have got it. Yeah.
Yeah. The best part at the end of this was Michael Cole hoping that Adam Pearce would make this official. That would have been awesome. He's like, no, screw you. Yeah. We just gave you a title match last week. We're saving Punk. Yeah. But yes, this would be our main event for later in the show. A first time in WWE
Yeah,
reigns.
I mean, Punk, I think for AJ's final year would have probably been atop many people's list of dream opponents for AJ at this point. And the fact that
My understanding is AJ really wanted this match.
yeah, sure. I mean, it's almost a surprise they hadn't met yet up until this point in the WWE. The fact that they gave it to you here without any sort of build would certainly lead audiences to believe that AJ was actually retiring this week. Rather
They
than
treated this show like this was his last Monday. Yeah.
yeah.
So they announced their programming for this week. So this is interesting. The Royal Rumble kickoff is going to air Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And then all the other programming, the countdown, the post show, that'll all be on the ESPN app on Saturday, with the Royal Rumble at 2 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Stephanie Vaquer taking on Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez, and Raquel Rodriguez. They explained 5 of the 6 are in the Rumble. Obviously, Vaquer is not. And this is Vaquer's first match since her minor injury. She hasn't wrestled since the end of December. And Raquel kicks Vaquer to prevent a devil's kiss to Liv. And I don't think we ever got a devil's kiss in this match, did we? Unless I missed it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, boy. Liv climbs under the ring to yank Sky off. This is as they had the heat on Vaquer for a prolonged period. And we built up to a hot tag to Io. She's in for a while. They've also introduced this new double team maneuver where Roxanne would do her tilt-a-whirl and then hold the opponent in place for Liv to hit the code breaker and then finishes it with a side Russian leg sweep. So
I like that.
Yeah, it looked nice.
Cool.
Then the big hot tag is made to Ripley, who delivers a razor's edge, sending Liv into Raquel, stops a Pop Rocks, and then Liv stops the Riptide and lands a Tornado DDT. All 6 women are in. Rhea blocks the Oblivion, and then Perez chop blocks the knee, goes again for the tilt-a-whirl codebreaker combo, but it is stopped, and Io drop kicks Liv out of the ring. Rhea pins Perez after a Riptide in 12 minutes and 53 seconds. And Graves was trying to call attention to Vaquer's ankle because as she climbed to the top rope, she slipped and then regained her footing and hit a high cross to the floor. And she did look like, as they're like standing up for the hero shot at the end, like she was like limping, whether that was just to sell this injury or not. But Graves was calling attention to this.
Yeah. I thought,
oh dear.
What's going on?
Our fire alarm is going off.
Oh, geez. Okay, you should probably.
Why don't you just talk for a second? I'll be
go make sure your house isn't burning. Okay, a bit of drama there. Well, it feels very inconsequential to talk about this, but I thought the match was strong. They showed much of the same chemistry and pace from the Saturday match, which I thought was very enjoyable. This is funny with me as the only person here. I quite enjoy still seeing Liv and Roxanne work together, but I think with the addition of Raquel, I really think the trio feels a bit more complete now. So now like they offer again, like you got Liv and Roxanne working more of a speedier style certainly, but the addition of a heavy I feel like really completes the group as a trio. So I would really love to see them continue working together without any sort of friction in the group for a little while longer, just so that we could see a few more of these trios teams and to see them build their chemistry up. I thought Vaquer slip up top. Everything okay, John? Your house is still here?
So we've been having these problems all day with these fire alarms.
Just a malfunctioning alarm?
I think so, yes. So
okay,
knock on wood, this won't interrupt us again. We've been fine for several hours, but
you gotta go.
There's no fire. There's no carbon monoxide issues.
Okay, good. I hope you get those changed tomorrow. They're very important.
Well, let
change the batteries.
I thought we had fixed the problem. So
okay.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know if Vaquer's slip was legitimate or not because it certainly looked really real, but Graves picked it up really well, and certainly they rolled it into storyline perfectly by the end. So whatever the case, whether they saved it or if she was actually selling really well, then it was a really effective way of calling attention to the vulnerability of the ankle.
Yeah, we'll get into it after, but I mean, in the post stuff, like they did a Raquel promo during the commercial break and Vaquer meeting with Adam Pearce, and there was no mention of it. They didn't make a big deal out of it, but they are going to end up doing the title match next Monday in Philadelphia. Balor confronts Punk backstage and called last week the most memorable night of his career. Thanks, Punk. And Punk calls him one of the greats and that Balor earned it, and not a lot of guys like them are left. And if you want to be champ, maybe you need to dump the Judgment Day and stop hanging out with garbage like Dom Mysterio. And tells him, go win the Royal Rumble, and I'll see you in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Balor's like, we're not facing each other at WrestleMania. Let's be honest.
Maybe on a future edition of Raw at this point. But I thought this was really good setup for what would take place later on. And I guess continues to, bring Dominic Mysterio into the conversation around CM Punk. His, I guess, status for WrestleMania, we still don't necessarily know, but, could he be in the vicinity of a CM Punk by that time?
Dom?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
You don't think so?
For WrestleMania? No, I don't. It's not my thought. But, his name was brought up here. I could see them doing something together. The Vision come out, and Heyman rails on Toronto. And now we have... Everyone needs a nickname. I think that was the one thing that was missing for Austin Theory during this whole push. He is now the Pressure. Austin Theory.
Okay.
The Pressure.
You don't like it?
No, I don't.
I don't know if a nickname will necessarily change much about him at this point.
Well, Heyman puts over Bronson and his wins over Roman Reigns, Logan Paul being the most famous personality in the world. And the reason that they are sold out tonight, Braun Breaker. The draw. And they show footage of Adam Pearce putting his hands on Breaker 2 weeks ago and then planting the brass knuckles. I really liked how they used this footage of Adam Pearce to make this case.
It explains why the ending of that match was so convoluted.
Well, it was. They simplified it here with just showing like 20 seconds of it. So Pearce comes out and he says that things got way out of hand. He apologizes to Breaker for putting his hands on him. It won't happen again, and books Breaker into the Rumble. And then decides all the members of the Vision are in the Royal Rumble, and he's giving Austin Theory a rematch. Well, a match with Rey Mysterio next. So the story here is that Adam Pearce got spooked by this phone call, and now he is placating the Vision. And I think that this will be a longer story.
The story is beyond, well, there's that, but he's also going a step further and now trying to take it out on Heyman by interrupting his plans, by not just putting Breaker into the Rumble, but the rest of the Vision, so that he can cause some tension in the group.
Yes, which would be addressed a bit later. But one gap here is that on Logan Paul's video blog, they had a very important storyline point that, to my knowledge, was never shown or referenced on this show. Because I think the natural reaction was, okay, this is Paul Levesque, and they made it very clear this was not Paul Levesque that made the call. This is someone that Paul Levesque would not want to take their call. So this is above Paul Levesque that made this call.
You're right. So you're saying they didn't reveal it, or
they didn't even make that a point here, and this is a big part of the storyline is this call to Adam Pearce, and I think they put that is part of the story, and they put it in this video blog with Heyman and Logan Paul, and was never mentioned here on the show, where I would imagine you would want to include that tidbit.
Yeah, maybe it'll just be something that's kind of in the background that they'll reference at a future time. But I thought the segment was well written and well performed here, especially having Pearce look like a smart GM who isn't about to be pushed over by Heyman, and he navigates the situation not necessarily by force, but by gamesmanship, like Paul Heyman, would do if he was in a similar role. So I thought, especially in Heyman's reaction, and also in Pearce's sort of nonverbal communication, I thought all of that was very well. The subtext of what they were actually going for was pretty well conveyed here.
I think Pearce is great in this role. So we go right into Theory and Rey Mysterio. Rey coming out with Penta and Dragon Lee. Theory goes for his mask, and Rey fends him off, tries for a 619, but Theory rolls out. And then there's a seated senton by Rey, and he gets caught and sends Theory into the post, and Rey disappears, and then all of a sudden leaps over the camera operator that we are focused on, Austin, leaps over the cameraman into a seated senton onto Austin Theory. Very cool.
Yeah.
So then Theory catches Rey with a forearm as he tries to reverse springboard, and then hits him with Ataxia, which Graves explains is a move that Theory has invented. It's kind of like a one-armed overhand pump handle. Looks very cool. And
he used to do, like, it's his old finish.
Oh, was this what he was using pre-WWE?
No. Even like while in the WWE.
I don't remember.
Pre-pressure.
Pre-pressure?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he wasn't winning too many matches, so maybe...
Nobody recognizes the move. Yeah, it's not popular.
Okay. Ataxia. Well, Rey ends up on the shoulders of Austin Theory, and they go over the top rope with Rey staying on the shoulders of Austin as they land on the floor, and then he spins to send Austin into the apron, and immediately Rey grabs his knee, and Dragon Lee comes to check on him, and the Vision then get involved. They fight with Lee and Penta, and Rey manages a sliding dropkick to Logan on the floor, and then he's caught in the rope and is hit with the stomp as Theory pins him. And you see Rey just roll to the side of the ring, and he's getting tended to. The referee puts the X up. But at this point, he's like, it looks like he's clutching his arm, because I'm watching this, and I thought like he did something to his knee, because he was like really favoring this knee after that. He sent Theory into the apron. And this part, so they destroy Lee and Penta. Each of them take a spear, and then clearly it was designed. They were all going to get speared by Braun Breaker. So the Vision go over, and the ref is trying to communicate to them that like he's hurt. And Theory literally picks up Rey, and they've got to like basically pull Rey back from them spearing this poor guy as they like zoom in on the Vision so you don't see all of this. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden Rey just is gone, and they must have called the audible because Penta just takes a second spear at this point. Brian Alvarez has reported Rey was injured, and that's why he was not participating in the post-match beatdown. So I don't know exactly where the injury was, because at first I thought it was the knee, but then when you see this image that Way's got up here on the bottom, like they were never focused on the knee. This looked more like the arm or shoulder or something like that. So remains to be seen like what the injury was, and more importantly, what the extent of the injury is as well.
Concerning, any sort of injury for somebody at his advanced
hasn't been back all that long either. Like he had just come back from his last injury.
Yeah, and at this point, I wonder if they'd be a bit more careful with like Rey Mysterio, in-ring appearances. He still has a lot to offer, clearly, but to get injured on like a nothing. I don't want to say nothing match, but like, a match that didn't necessarily need to have him. I wonder if they'll be a bit more maybe careful with his future appearances, provided he gets cleared later.
Yeah. So, I mean, probably like your answer will be, does he fly to Saudi Arabia? Because if not, they must be concerned enough. So we'll probably have a better idea on Tuesday, the extent of this. Yeah, so the post-match beatdown, they laid out Lee and Penta, ending with a super spear by Braun onto Penta. And it's time for the big transformation. Not since the one-man gang turned into Akeem have we seen such a transformation. Natalya is out, and Natty has arrived. She made Maxine, and you failed me. It's one thing to roll with a legend, but that doesn't mean you can roll like a legend, which is what Way told me the first time we went to Toronto BJJ together. It's like,
of course,
understood Way. He says, this is a whole new Natty, and I'm coming for it all because Natalya elevates, but Natty decimates.
Right. Natalya elevates, meaning like she loses to elevate people, or meaning like she helps. She just coaches people. She's more known as like sort of a coach.
You can read it either way.
Got it.
She's not doing jobs anymore. That's what I took from Natty. Don't do jobs. Okay.
She doesn't do jobs anymore. Now she will send you lower down the card.
Yeah.
Is what she's saying.
She's a shooter.
Well, yeah.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's been like over a year now that she's been workshopping this character, and she had like debuted at Bloodsport and all that. So I'm glad she finally gets her big debut, cornrows and all. And I do remain skeptical about her ability to look mean and intimidating enough to pull the character off. In ring, that's not a question. I feel like she could do a decent job of it, but it's especially on Raw, a lot of it is communicated through your non-wrestling, and like I think she looks too friendly frankly. So can she play a mean, intimidating character out of the ring? But more importantly, the in ring really has to shine, I think.
Raquel is screaming in the back, looking for Adam Pearce when Bayley informs her, "Hey, I'm on the phone." And then Lyra pops in, and Raquel just disregards all of them and walks past them. That was the extent of Bayley and Lyra on this show. And Vicaire comes in, and we have a pull apart with Raquel and Vicaire.
Yeah, I think these pull aparts have been like pretty good, very nice and intense, especially on Raquel's part, who I feel like has really leveled up both in these sort of environments and also on the microphone, like taking advantage of the airtime that she gets, even on like the Netflix commercial break, to really, I think, sharpen her skills, playing this sort of more intense heelish version of her.
Are we overlooking the larger question though? Who was on the phone with Bayley?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe it was the same person that Paul Heyman was sent.
Could have been. Yeah. Maybe Bayley was asking, what are my plans? Like, what am I doing? And then we go to the best part of the show. It's time for the Michael Cole sit-down interview with Gunther in the Toronto Raptors dressing room. This was...
Are you... I mean, he had to fly here to do this. Are you surprised they didn't pre-tape this for this poor man last week so he could just like maybe take the week off before going to Saudi?
Well, I think they're flying everyone out of Saudi or to Saudi
Toronto,
after this.
right.
So I think they were all just coming to Toronto. This was the hub. So here they are. And Michael Cole asks Gunther, why wasn't a win against AJ enough? Why did you make him put his career on the line? And Gunther is just gobsmacked here. He's like, what do I have to gain by beating him? I'm sick and tired of these old timers overstaying their welcomes, chasing their moments. And I took those moments. I love that we have a guy who is anti-WWE moments, okay? Babyface.
He wants them all for himself.
Yes. He's like, I want all these moments for myself. I took those away from Goldberg. I took it from Cena. I'm not interested in an AJ retirement tour. Michael Cole, you're one of those old timers too. How long are you going to stick around here? I could end your career now, but I want to hear you announce Saturday's match and announce that AJ's career is over. It's going to be great. Memorable. This guy was amazing. Just amazing in this segment.
Excellent. I thought excellent stuff from
so
both Gunther and from Cole. I thought there was good logic in Gunther's reasoning, and intimidating a bit of the an answer always helps you look that much more scary.
The guy just projects such an arrogance that is very hard to be able to harness. But a great segment here. Jey Uso comes out. He's going to be ringside for the 4-way tag, and Adam Pearce gets off the phone. Again, we need to see this guy's his outgoing and incoming calls, and he meets Finn Balor, who declares himself for the Royal Rumble. And in a first, someone is told no, the Rumble is full. The Rumble is full. You are not among the top 30 men that we have on this roster. Who are these 30 that all rank above Finn Balor?
I guess you have to make
on the depth chart.
You have to make room for all the vision, and then I'm sure one or two surprises from NXT.
Listen, the Saudi Arabia has made some wild requests for who they want in this Rumble. Some of them aren't even alive, Finn. You've got to help me here, okay? Remember Baba Tunde being in the Greatest Royal Rumble, and he tells Finn says this isn't over yet. And then he walks into Liv, who this was also a first, a partner that watched the show and saw the segment between Punk and Balor. I didn't think this could happen in WWE. She knew all the things that were said. It was like Balor didn't realize this was being broadcast everywhere, this conversation with Punk, and Liv saw all of it, as did everybody.
She found the key that no one else has.
Amazing. Yes, she got a Netflix login. They have Netflix in Canada, it turns out. So she says that Punk just lifted your arm up last week, raised your arm like a participation trophy. And Balor says it's not as straightforward as it seems. I need to figure this all out. And he walks away, leaving Liv, who is one step closer to than anyone else when it comes to putting all of this logic together for us.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I thought all of this was really well done in service of the eventual angle we'd get later on.
The four-way is New Day, the Creeds, Rayo and Bravo, and Otis and Akira Tozawa, with Jey Uso ringside. Again, Jimmy is not here this week. We have
what's crazy is that 3 of the 4 teams here have some prior attachment to Chad Gable. In Alpha Academy, in the Creeds, and even Los Americanos, who are, I guess, somewhat related due to his El Grande Americano gimmick, right? It's very interesting. These are all people attached to the Gableverse.
This is the Creed's first match on Raw since... What month do you think they were last on Raw for a match?
Like August, maybe?
July.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're back. Cole, for the life of him, could not differentiate Rayo from Bravo, and Graves constantly had to be just taking over here. Woods did this spot where he flipped Kofi off his back and then came down on the knees of Tozawa, and then Bravo does the airplane spin, and again, Cole is recognizing these maneuvers. Bravo and Woods get splashed by Otis, so Bravo does a spot where he lands on top of Woods' groin. And Tozawa, who gets the best 90 seconds I think he's had in the last 5 years, gets to do all these dives to the floor, and he rips off his shirt. And then Tozawa hits Kofi with his own Trouble in Paradise. Waller crotches him, and then Jay super kicks Waller over the barricade. Otis smashes the Creeds into one another, and then Tozawa comes off the top for the senton, pins Julius Creed in 10 minutes and 52 seconds, and Alpha Academy get the tag title shots against the Usos. Date to be determined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had teased the Usos and and Alpha Academy in that backstage segment, of course, so I feel like they were always the favorites heading into this match. But coming out of the match, they certainly, both Otis and Tozawa, had their like really nice moment of shine. And I'm reminded that, like, man, Tozawa and Otis.
Graves basically said, this guy used to be a really big deal on the Indies.
Well, yeah, sure. But the fact that, like, they don't have much airtime, but when they do, they can still inspire a crowd like this, I think, shows you the amount of talent that they both have and what they offer. But man, in Tozawa's case, like, I have to imagine, like, he's probably so nervous every time, like, a round of releases gets announced, because he's probably just on the cusp. But you see moments like this and you recognize again just how talented he is. Somehow he manages to be like one of the four people that are still part of from the Cruiserweight Classic that are still in this company. And I wouldn't even put him as like the least utilized one. Like, he'd probably be number 2.
Maybe if he got released, he would be closing off a pay-per-view hidden in a hoodie, and then coming to the back, and Nick Khan steps in to rectify things with Tozawa.
Well, it depends if he tweeted it out or not. If there was a misunderstanding.
Well, I think clearly you tweeted out. Yeah, that's the game plan. You don't let this just go to waste.
Yeah. We'll be talking about Unreal episode number 2 tomorrow in the Post Wrestling Cafe.
Jackie Redmond is wearing the colors of hell, the Toronto Maple Leafs jacket. And Becky Lynch says, last week was a monumental victory. You wouldn't know about monumental victories wearing a jacket like that. No lie spoken. And refers to mid-Maxine and loser Lyra. And Becky is entering the Royal Rumble. And Kairi Sane walks in saying, you won't win because no one's ready for Asuka. And Becky reminds her that you cost us War Games. Why don't you tell Asuka that? And so we had some tension here with Asuka and Becky, who have had a pair of matches before at the Royal Rumble. And so there you have it.
So we're teasing future Becky matches with Natalya and also now Asuka as well.
Yes, they're making quite the list. And thus far, they have not announced Kairi in the Rumble. It is just, she's going to help Asuka win.
Okay. I mean, I felt like the suggestion was that she would be in the Rumble to help, but I guess she doesn't have to be in it.
They're not listing her yet. I mean, she always could be, but I imagine she'll be there in some way. That's the whole story with Asuka, and I imagine she screws up and Asuka gets eliminated. Javon Evans, this was funny. Earlier in the show, he does a commercial break interview with Byron Saxton, and he was wearing a Boston Red Sox hat, and I guess he got booed. I missed this commercial promo, but he got booed, and then declares himself for the Rumble during that interview, where he also says he was fine after last week's match got stopped abruptly. So looks like he was okay. So then in this segment with AJ, he has ditched the Boston Red Sox hat.
Or he's turned it around so you can't see the Boston Red Sox logo.
Yes. So he comes in and he meets with AJ and says, I hope I get to meet you on the farewell tour. And AJ's like, yeah, let's do it. And then Javon goes, I know what that means. And it was just like this super awkward exchange that they had. I'm like, is this the character we're going with right now? Like, they made it purposely awkward between these two.
I guess so. I completely don't know what this was supposed to be. I watched it like 3 times. I have no idea.
I rewatched it too, and it felt to me like it felt like one where it was like, okay, let's just do another take of that because they just got lost and they aired the wrong one. Like, it just...
Well, clearly it was intentional, but like the punchline, I don't like. Where was the misunderstanding even? Like
if this were back in the Vince days, I would say Javon Evans did like he introduced himself and was just super awkward with people, and they're going to make this his character now. I don't think they're that delusional anymore that they would take stuff like that and make them their characters, because that's literally the only takeaway I had. This was
but there wasn't even anything that Javon said that was even that weird. Like, the weirdness was AJ's response to it. Again, like, can you go through this?
He said, let's do it. He said, let's do it.
Like,
I didn't think
Javon said, well, hold on a second, but you don't say let's do it to what? Like, okay, so Javon said, I hope I get to see you on that farewell tour. So
I took it to be like he was saying, like, I hope we can like have a match before you retire, and AJ saying, let's do it.
Got it. Okay. And so then Javon meets him.
And then Javon goes and says something like, I know what that means. And then it was like, dude, this was so weird. For us to try to deconstruct this is just like an exercise in insanity.
Okay.
This was so silly. This honestly shouldn't have even aired.
Maybe on the script it made a lot more sense than what this was.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul just takes Javon. You know what you're doing tonight? You can't tell anybody, okay? No one knows this except Cody, okay? You're going to be awkward with AJ. Oh, my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Saxton interviews Raquel Rodriguez. She screams. Vicare's been ducking her for weeks. She wants the title match. So with that, Vicare goes to Pierce and gets a Philadelphia street fight next Monday on Raw. So it does look like we got the 4 matches for Rumble. I don't imagine they're going to add any more on SmackDown. I think
no, I don't think so.
4 is probably good.
Yeah.
The Vision are in their locker room, and Logan proposes they go into the Royal Rumble with one vision as a unit, and we make sure one of us wins. And he stands up and says that man should be Braun Breaker. And Reed and Theory all agree.
Yeah. So just set up for all of them to go their own way in the Rumble match.
Probably that we get some kind of a disagreement at some point in this, because, yeah. Then they announce Obafemi for the Royal Rumble. So he will be there on Saturday. And the final match is CM Punk, AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight Championship. We go through one commercial break, and Punk signals for the GTS. But instead of going for the GTS, instead he hits a Shining Wizard. And then, going deep, hits the Pepsi Twist onto AJ. GTS gets blocked, and AJ hits the Ushigoroshi, which Graves is the only person in this company that calls that by name. There's an elbow off the top by Punk, then into the Anaconda Vice, and AJ bridges from underneath. And there's another Shining Wizard, but this time AJ's ready, catches the leg, and tries to lift him for the Styles Clash, and Punk just reaches for the rope to prevent the Styles Clash. So they head to the floor where Punk hits the GTS. Both men are down, Punk rolls in, and Styles just beats the count at 9. And he fires up, hits the Styles Clash, and Punk kicks out. Audience is getting into it with all of the big near falls. And AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm. He's knocked off balance. They trade strikes, and they struggle to lift each other for their maneuvers. And they head into the corner when Finn Balor attacks, and the match is thrown out. This actually got heat because I think this audience was genuinely disappointed that this one ended in this fashion as opposed to like your usual groan finish. I thought there was actual heat for this match getting cut off like this. And so Balor attacks Punk. He's not really after AJ. It's just Punk. And he goes for the shotgun dropkick on the floor, sending Punk into the barricade, but it doesn't break. So he goes for a second time, and it doesn't break. And he's like, all right, forget this. This barricade is too strong. And he hits him with the the coup de grace 3 consecutive times and leaves Punk laid out at the end of Raw, and still no Royal Rumble spot. Unless maybe Rey creates a spot for him.
Perhaps you could be right.
Wouldn't that have made more sense? He should have gone after somebody on the men's roster.
Well, maybe he's just going for the title shot. He sees like, okay, AJ just had to ask. Maybe, since he already gave me one, maybe I could just like beat him up.
You're right. He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Is there any potential of this being something that they could go to Chicago with for Elimination Chamber? They did Ireland, and now it's like a home and home series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, prolong this for another month, to get some mileage out of it. I mean, I thought like
it's only 4 weeks. It's not a super long time until Elimination Chamber, and
for sure.
As of right now, like Punk is not on this Rumble in any way. Like I imagine he'll be there, and
why would he be there if he was taken out like in this sort of attack?
I guess he just feels like Saudi. They just bring everyone, and they'd want the champions there, or maybe to do an angle with Balor on the show. I would imagine Punk is on the show in some form or fashion, but I guess he's not neaded.
If he's not,
especially if he's selling this. Yeah,
if he just did this angle, I wonder if this would just be a way to write him off. It seems to at least guarantee us another CM Punk Finn Balor match. What did you think of AJ versus CM Punk as a match itself?
I like Nakamura better, but I thought the match was going really well. Like I didn't really have any complaints about it. The audience was pretty into it in terms of it being like, I think the audience watched this, and it's like, regardless of what happens on Saturday, this is the only time you're going to see this match. I'd put it like a notch below the Nakamura match on Saturday. That to me kind of had that bigger feel to it. But this was very good. It was a very entertaining match. Like Punk has been on a really good roll.
Yeah, and I mean AJ, obviously, I think it was a very good match. It was enjoyable, and I think many are of the realization that this could be AJ's like final run, or at least final week, or maybe at least the final match you might see these two together, and the first time you are also seeing each other. I think like that in itself, like plus the star power and the context of the situation, they're enough to make you really like engage with a match like this. And I mean, I'm not really bothered by the non-finish, because I think if you've been watching wrestling for any length of time, I don't know if you would have expected a clean finish for something like this, like, days before the pay-per-view. And also the fact that they didn't announce it ahead of time kind of like made you feel like this match was a bonus anyway. So I enjoyed it. I did feel, though, there were moments of this match where they felt a bit sluggish to me, and that was like when AJ was trying to bridge out of the pin.
The bridge they struggled.
Then right into like the roll into the calf crusher, which looked really slow, uncharacteristically slow for AJ. Then that sliding knee on the apron. So like that whole series of like actions looked very uncharacteristic of AJ to me, and it just had me wondering if he was like either maybe even like hurt in those moments or just whatever. But I overall still really enjoyed it. It's all to say maybe like, like I wonder how much these performances might take out of somebody like AJ, who probably recognizes the limitations of his body better than any of us who are just seeing the finished product. But I think there's a reason why he's opting to step out at the moment, and there are probably a lot of things that he might actually struggle with that we don't necessarily see.
Yeah, I mean, it also is a worthwhile question of knowing like when he learned, like certainly he knew what the Rumble match was going to be, but when he learned that they were going to do the Nakamura match and the Punk match, they're 2 nights apart, they're big matches, and you come off a match like that on Saturday, you're 48, like it's not like he's doing those levels of matches on too frequent of a basis. Like he's barely ever doing singles matches like that.
Plus the crazy stretch of travel he is currently embarking on. Mm-hmm. Doesn't leave you much time to recover.
And Saturday is the biggest of the three. I assume that match is going 20-25 on Saturday. So that's going to be quite the spectacle as well. But how about this show just in terms, like, I would say up until about a week or so ago, I think the promotion for a Rumble was really, really lacking, and I think they got very lucky that they had this AJ story in their back pocket, because I think it's got my most interest for the Rumble. I can't say the men's or women's match they really have hit like another gear other than it's the Royal Rumble, which is fine. But it does feel one where, it was like a 10-day build for this Rumble, and it almost feels like the two non-Rumble matches are the ones that seem to at least have more of my interest. This and Drew and Sammy.
I think the Cody, title loss to Drew, like probably shook things up in a strong way, and suddenly made the Sami Zayn story one that they could, put into focus. I think they've done a good job of that, especially with like Montreal. Like they've done a good job of making Sami feel like a hot contender, with Drew being like a brand new champion that already kind of sparks a level of interest. Like AJ versus Gunther, I mean, really is something that just came together over the past week. And again, I feel like the Nakamura post, like really, there was already interest, but like I think that probably sent things into a little bit of overdrive, which the results you kind of saw tonight. So those two, like, this is a 4-match show, John, and so I guess they at least came through in the final 2 weeks. Could they have drawn more interest in the Rumble match itself? Yeah, certainly. Like in both Rumble matches, you're not getting too many people's like actual campaigns for why they want to win these championships. A lot of these guys aren't even appearing on TV. In the case of like a Roman Reigns or I guess Obafemi, making his debut, we're assuming in the Rumble match itself. So maybe they're just kind of relying on the fact that it's the Rumble, to sell it. And by the time it comes around, maybe they're right to assume that, because I feel like, by the time Saturday comes around, people will be plenty interested in the show.
I mean, there's no filler on this show. Like, all 4 matches have stakes and have importance attached to them. What do you see closing?
Well, right now they're advertising, at least like on WWE.com, the biggest graphic is AJ Styles versus Gunther. If this is to be his last match, I could certainly see that headlining the show.
I don't think that's a bad call at all.
No,
I think it makes, like, to me, it feels like the main event of the show, and I think you could easily close the show with that. So we'll preview the Rumble maybe a little later on in the week, but that concludes Raw from Toronto. We're going to say goodbye to everyone here on the YouTube stream, but a couple of plugs to get out. If you are in the Royal Rumble mode, well, today I just turned on the mic, and we've got a 4-hour history of the Royal Rumble up now for members of the Post Wrestling Café.
How did you find 4 hours out of your day to record this straight through?
That's a separate podcast to explain. This might be my AJ Styles retirement from these history shows at this point. I've done the big 4 now, so maybe.
I want to hear the history of
in your house
Backlash.
The history of Backlash. Yeah, I might get Backlash if I do that. But this is out now, covering each year, me going through, talking like a madman to myself in this room without anybody to argue with me or to share their thoughts. It kind of drives you into like semi-insanity.
It's excellent. It's fantastic. And it's some of the shows that we received the best feedback to. So those of you in the Post Wrestling Cafe, you can listen to all nearly 4 hours of it right now. Spread it out amongst the week. Those of you who are non-Cafe patrons will have to wait till a little bit later on this week.
And then Tuesday, Wai and I will be back to continue our review of Unreal, which we are going week by week. So Tuesdays will be The Truth, reviewing episode 2, which is a really interesting episode. It mainly focuses on Ron Killings and his, release, contract not being renewed. We can't even agree on what his status was, if you are Paul Levesque. But we will go into that whole episode on Tuesday on the Cafe, and then all of the regular shows coming up this week. We got Book Club for our Double Double and Espresso members on Thursday. Neil Flanagan and I will be reviewing A Lion's Tale by Chris Jericho. And then Neil will be back for SmackDown with Wai on Friday, and Wai and I will be going live Saturday evening, I'm going to guess. Time to be determined after the Royal Rumble here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. And of course, February 1st, it is time for you, the last days to beat the price increase at postwrestlingcafe.com. Anybody that signs up before Sunday can lock in the old price of $6 per month for the rest of 2025. You can get a whole year before the price goes up for you, but you have to do it before this Sunday. So you can lock in, whether it's an annual plan or you're going month by month. Sign up this week before Sunday when this offer will expire.
Yep. And if you're a new member, we're also now offering 7-day free trials. So even if you did sign on, you can enjoy the first 7 days for free and try it out. hopefully you guys will like it enough to stick around.
It comes with all the extra shows we do every week, all the Rewind-A-Ways, including our archive that goes back 8 years, full editions of Rewind-A-Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown that include the news of the day off the top and all of your feedback and questions, Collision Course, and much, much more. So there you go. PostWrestlingCafe.com. We will say goodbye to everyone on YouTube, and we head over to forum.postwrestling.com.